Hi, I'm Charlotte, and this is Chatting with Charlotte, where I share conversations, life hacks, and inspirations to help you on your healing journey from childhood trauma. So today is episode 1 of a 3-part series entitled First Steps of Recovery, where I will talk about my experience with step 1, 2, and 3 of the 12-step recovery program, specifically as it's discussed in Celebrate Recovery. So I will also include the scriptures for each step. So step 1 says, we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors, that our lives had become unmanageable. The scripture is, I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature, for I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. Romans 7:18. Now that scripture is the perfect description of my life before recovery. And admitting that my life was out of control and unmanageable took many years and a lot of heartache. You see, by the time I went to college, I had no conscious memory of the abuse I endured as a child, but my body remembered. So when I was with someone, I went on autopilot and did things that I had no idea how I knew. And then after, I would either be angry or I would cry uncontrollably. And I would promise to stop, but I could not stop. And I felt overwhelmed and truly believed that I was evil because I couldn't understand how I knew so much about sex. The behavior continued until I met and married my first husband, Marty. Now, I had promised time and time again that I would stop the behavior, but I always failed. I promised God that I would stop, and I always failed. But a couple of months before I met Marty, I had made that promise yet again, that I would not have sex with anyone until I was with the person I was going to marry. And so when Marty convinced me to have sex with him, I knew I had to marry him. I didn't really love him. At least, I don't know. Maybe I did a little bit, but I don't think I did. I married him because I had promised God, and this time I was not going to break that promise. And I was faithful to Marty the entire time we were married. But when we divorced, I once again, I filled the emptiness and the hurt with anonymous sex. And the sources for me at that time, because there was no internet, were personal ads where I would hook up with men for phone sex or for sometimes face-to-face encounters. And I visited adult bookstores on occasion. But like before, I felt empty after. I felt angry, and my self-loathing was reflected in my attitude and in my behavior. And I continued to do those behaviors throughout the 90s. And when the internet came on the scene, then my struggle just exploded. And I replaced the public shame of adult bookstores with the private shame of internet chat rooms, pornography sites, and adult dating sites. Thank God there was no Tinder and whatever else was out there back then, because I probably would have been on it. But I could not stop that behavior. But then I felt like, okay, I'm kind of in control of this because I can end this chat anytime I want. I just have to push a button, the mouse, and it's done. But the problem was I couldn't control the decision to get on it in the first place. And so I really wasn't in control, and I couldn't control it, and I couldn't stop. And I just believed completely that I was evil. And then a really dear friend of mine reminded me that I was not evil and encouraged me to return to church. I took a chance and I followed her advice, and I started attending a church in Austin. And joined a Celebrate Recovery group. And eventually, in that group, I felt safe enough to finally admit that my life was out of control and it was unmanageable. And that began my journey towards healing. And then came step 2, which I'll talk about on Wednesday. So please come back and I will share that part of my journey. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And I look forward to talking to you on Wednesday. Talk to you soon. Bye.